Hello everyone, and last night I got to see 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, and this is essentially a last man stand scenario in an American embassy in Benghazi, where these six soldiers, well, I wouldn't say they're untrained, but they're unprepared. They were really just expecting this to happen. Like, they were put in this position to defend this American stronghold in Benghazi. And this movie is directed by Michael Bay. And I'm sure as soon as I mention his name at this point, you're like, no, I'm checking out. No. It's like, before you say anything, I want to say this. I like this movie. I legitimately like this movie. I had fun with this movie. I was really engaged with it. And I thought, not just for Michael Bay standards, but for film standards, this, in my opinion, is pretty damn fascinating and engaging to watch. And while this film is not perfect, it does suffer the Michael Bay isms that you do see in his other films. As a whole, you really do feel the love, the honor, and the tribute and the respect Michael Bay has for the American military, and how he pays respect and homage to them in this movie, and respecting what these men stood for and why and how they did suffer in this situation. Like, most people, when they see this film, they will be confused. Like, wait, why are they in this situation? But then again, I feel like it's like they get the feeling of it. Wait, why are they here? Why are they told to defend this position? Why are they stationed here? But I feel like that's a real acknowledgement of the soldiers' perspective, because a lot of soldiers, while actively dedicating their own time and life and code of ethics to war, and essentially being an American soldier, they aren't, and they are prepared to take on the worst. They are not mentally prepared as a whole. They're not really, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but it's like they don't really know what they will always go up against and how it will attack them. And I think the unexpected nature in their minds, when it's like, oh my god, we're here willing to defend this position to our death, at least, not a big spoiler, is really interesting to watch. And I love how Michael Bay gets that perspective from the soldiers. I think that's a very important thing that most war films tend to forget, how they depict the war scenarios and how the soldiers respond to the moment. It's like, wait, we're getting we're getting this information now? Why now? Why is this last minute? Why are we getting this position? I think that's really, I wouldn't say it's fascinating, but it's a very admirable thing to do for Michael Bay, for me to take that position and apply it to the soldiers in this movie, because I think it really represents their, I wouldn't say their unprepared nature, but they're willing to take on anything, but the last minute events within war are very, very unexpected, and I think he captures that very, very well. Every single war film, in my opinion, captures something unique. In American Sniper, it shows how war has a real traumatic effect on the soldier, and Lone Survivor is all about fighting that gray between you and the enemy. It's like not every single one of the enemy is a true enemy. It's like, you gotta really understand that both sides. Black Hawk Down is all about the confusion and the turmoil within war, and Saving Private Ryan is all about what we morally think about war. Every single war film, in my opinion, brings a new perspective into war, into survival, into soldiers and warriors a long way. And I think that's a really interesting perspective for this film. And I think, and while this, like I said before, this one does have the typical Michael Bay isms that you do see in a Michael Bay film, I think it is still kind of restricted. He does give you the typical Michael Bay things, but they're few and far between. I don't think there's too much of it as a whole when you watch this film, and I really do love how he really did reserve himself in this film, and I really do respect Michael Bay for doing that. Another thing I really liked about this movie is the direction it took, actually, and I do mean the direction. It looks visually beautiful, like any Michael Bay movie. He knows to give credit where credit is worth due. He knows how to direct a film. Like, he's a great video. Like, I don't know what this point. I'm just rambling on, but I actually found this movie pretty compelling. And while the first hour is a little hard to get through, and the characters aren't that interesting or that developed, you still feel for them in their moments, and they do have those real emotional moments that baggage down on them, and it feels like a real war and a real unexpected turn for these soldiers when you watch the film as a whole. And what you see, and knowing this, well, when I heard this film was coming out, I purposely did not do any information. I didn't search it up or anything like that, because I have a feeling if I did that, it would spoil the whole story for me. So I deliberately went into this film blind. I did not know what to expect into this film, and I really, honestly, I personally thought that was a better mindset to take into this film. Just go into this as a blank slate. Don't expect much from it, but then again, is like, don't expect a complete war film masterpiece like Das Boot or Lawrence of Arabia or Saving Private Ryan out of this. This is just a simple, fun Michael Bay action film that pays a lot of respect and homage to the American soldiers. And as far as this goes, I'm actually really, I'm personally taking a loss for how, I wouldn't say great, but it's a fairly good movie. Not, I said, just like as I said before, not just for Michael Bay standards, but for films, for film standard. And as a whole, I was personally really impressed by Michael Bay, and I do want to give him a true respectful and homage to him in this review. Just like how last year there was The Visit by M. Night Shyamalan, which was a saving grace from his career. This is another saving. This is like on the other side, flip of the coin. This is another saving grace for Michael Bay. Even though there's some Michael Bay films I do enjoy. Like, I personally do find myself enjoying Pain and Gain. Even though it isn't very much a guilty pleasure, I really do enjoy the first Transformers. And of course, The Rock is a legitimately fun action movie. So it's like, yeah, this may be he may have some few and far between enjoyable films, but I can sincerely say 13 Hours is probably, as a whole, his best film that he's made. And if I wanted to talk about the best and worst of Michael Bay as of right now, this would be his best. It would literally be his best. I found it very visually compelling. It was a great perspective of the soldiers. I thought the direction it took was really interesting and mature for Michael Bay as a whole. And as a whole, I just really enjoyed it. Yes, it's not perfect, and the first hour is fairly hard to get through. And the shaky cam is very noticeable, but the compelling story, the unique perspective, and a really interesting angle that he gets on the soldiers, and the finale itself, like the last 30 minutes, is visually compelling, and it does leave you quite breathless at the end. And as a whole, I really did, and I would say that I found myself really enjoying 13 Hours, and I would give this film a solid 75%. It's a fairly good movie, and in my opinion, in my honest opinion, it's a technically good movie, but I wouldn't say it's a great movie by any standards, but not just for his, like I said before, not just for base standards, but for film standards. This is in my opinion, a fairly good movie, which I found myself really enjoying as a whole, and a big comeback for Michael Bay. And I'm hoping for the next Michael Bay movie. Oh wait, that's Transformers 5. Yeah, and I dare not talk about. Well, I wouldn't say I wouldn't dare, but there's no need to talk about what Michael Bay has done when it comes to film, or what he has done wrong, because that's just beating a dead horse with another dead horse. But as a whole, 13 Hours in my opinion, was a surprisingly good movie from Michael Bay as a whole, and I really found myself really enjoying it. I don't know if not fully on my jacket here is too loud in this video, but as a whole, I found myself very, very much enjoying 13 Hours. And as a whole, I really did enjoy it, and thank you all very much for watching my review of 13 Hours, everyone. I really do hope to consideration, and I would legitimately recommend this film if you like war movies, if you like action movies, and if you just like interesting films as a whole. And in the end, that's just my review of 13 Hours. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the future. Bye.